Hello guys, and welcome to the Sales and Leadership channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Paul Heslop. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called TheBig4 and also Elliott Browne. We're a specialized recruitment company in finance and IT. I started the business back in 2009 in England. We now have over 100 employees and we're one of the fastest growing recruitment companies in Europe. Obviously, our goal is to be the #1 recruitment company in Europe, and that's our big goal. As mentioned in previous episodes, we've also got some other big goals, and that is personal and professional development. And what we mean by that is not just helping the guys within our business, but sharing some information and ideally helping some people who are starting in leadership, in sales, and really giving back to the community. And that's the aim of this channel. So in previous video episodes, we've been talking about leadership. We've been talking about what do you do when you first take over a team? What is the research you got to do? What's the analysis you got to do? How do you work out what the strengths and weaknesses are of the people within your team? And also, once you've done that, what's the thing that has the biggest impact within the individuals within the team and also within the business and the team as a whole? This video, we're going to be talking about culture and how to maintain a fantastic culture within the business whilst also getting results and having really high performance. Now, you may have seen some videos within the sales floor. In previous videos, we've got a video with a gong, and you see everyone goes wild and has a great celebration. You probably find, and this may be yourself as well, I've got a lot of friends who are into sport and they watch a lot of football or rugby on TV, and when someone scores a goal or when someone scores a try, they go absolutely wild, jumping up and down, screaming like, yeah, this is amazing. But yet when they get a promotion at work or something good happens in their personal life, they don't celebrate. Why not? I don't understand it. Whereas in Elliott Browne, we have an environment where we're super high performance, Elliott Browne and TheBig4. We have super high performance, but we also celebrate our wins and we have a great culture. And some of the strategies we're going to talk about now is how we've been able to maintain that culture whilst growing the business, but also having fun at work, people feeling confident, but also having that high performance. Sometimes when you're a young leader or you're just taking over a team, normally you've been working within that business, in that team, and then you're managing someone, and last week you were their colleague, this week you're going to be their manager. How are you able to overcome that barrier, maintain respect, maintain discipline, but whilst still being really close to the team? And I've got an analogy which was actually taught to me by one of my mentors a few years ago, which is very visual but I think can really help. And it's called popping the small bubbles. Very simple analogy, and we'll talk about this on the board, about how that looks visually. But popping the small bubbles is something that I use on a daily basis, something my leadership team uses, something my business partner uses, and it helps us to maintain discipline and high performance within the business. So we're going to talk about what is popping the small bubbles, but before we do that, you've got to think about, there's one step before that, and you've got to think, what are leaders really good at? And if you're not very good at this, you're going to have to start improving very, very fast. Great leaders are fantastic at observing, so they see things that other people don't see. They're always looking, they're very acutely aware of their immediate environment. When they hear something or someone communicates, they're really listening, because what people say, sometimes they're hitting meaning in that, and leaders really look for those hidden meanings. So they observe more, they listen more, and they also qualify really, really well. Obviously those skills are kind of interlinked, but great leaders do that very well. Why is that important? Why am I talking about that now? Is because if you're going to be able to maintain a culture, you've got to be able to see on your team, and you've got to look for what is going well, but you've also got to look for what isn't going well. What are the red flags? Where do you need to intervene? Where do you need to have a conversation? What conversation do you need to have? But if you're not seeing the stuff that's going on around you, or you're not listening, or you're not observing very well, you're going to miss loads of it. You're just going to miss too much. So being able to maintain that culture of high performance is going to be really difficult for you. So remember, if you're not a good listener, or you're not a good observer or qualifying things, that's something you're really going to have to actively work on. So if I was managing a team, literally take 10 minutes out. Just look at the office, look at your team, look at some of the work they're doing. Maybe you've got a very good KPI or some system that helps you to see what the guys are doing within your business. But just take a few minutes back. You'd be so surprised at what you see when you really step back and observe. And at that stage, you might have to now implement the popping the small bubbles analogy. So what does that mean? So now, popping the small bubbles is basically when you see something wrong, you've got to pop that small bubble. So for me, and there's also different layers for that. So for our business and our leadership team, one thing we all do is we don't accept complaining, negativity, inappropriate behavior, inappropriate language, being disrespectful to a customer, or being disrespectful to a colleague, or someone that comes in to clean the office. If someone's disrespectful to that, that's the sort of thing where any leader who's in that environment, I would expect them to pop that small bubble. So even if it was a team, someone did it in a different team and the leader isn't there, for those things, I would expect the leader present to pull that person to one side and say, hey, that isn't acceptable. We don't accept that behavior. Because what you've got to remember is culture is 100 times more important than strategy. You can have the perfect strategy, you can have the best business plan, but if you don't have a great culture, it won't work. So culture you've got to literally treat culture like a child, like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You've got to really look after it with everything you've got, and you've got to be acutely aware of anything that affects the culture. You've got to watch that out. So to give you a small example, you tend to have this with very good salespeople. They tend to be can be quite emotional, but that emotion is sometimes how they persuade people to buy from them. But they can be a little bit too emotional sometimes. I remember a few years ago, one of our best sales guys, very big personality, actually a very big guy and a big presence. I saw him on the sales floor and he had a phone call, put the phone down, and he said something negative about one of our customers. That was my cue to pop the small bubble. That was my sign to pull him to one side and say, hey, I heard what you said, and we don't tolerate any negativity, particularly when it comes to customers. The customer is always right. Now, anything that affects the culture, I would suggest whoever the leader is around, you've got to pop that small bubble. Now, you've got to define what those non-negotiables are for your business, and say, okay, these are the things that we would pull up straight away. But there's also going to be a lot of other things where you still need to pop the small bubble, but it might not be something you do urgently there and then. So for example, it could be someone is late for work. Now that might not be an issue within your business, so obviously you've got to work out what's important for your business and what isn't. But it could be that someone's late, or it could be for us someone doesn't hit their KPIs, or someone doesn't follow a process, someone doesn't enter data within the system correctly. If you're a software developer, are you testing the software before you present it to a client? Whatever it is, there'll be certain things that are really important for you to have a certain level of performance within your business. But again, you've got to observe that and remember, people generally don't do what you expect, they do what you inspect. And inspection is accountability. Everyone needs to be accountable. I had a life coach, a high performance coach a few years ago, and the big thing was he just held me accountable. So when I said I was going to go for a run, I was going to eat healthy or go to the gym, whatever it was, he held me accountable for that, and it's an accountability partner. Leadership isn't too much different for that. You've got to set the boundaries, set the parameters, and remember that people need, in general in life, they need the right balance between boundaries and freedom. If you give someone too many boundaries, they're going to feel restricted, they're not going to feel confident or empowered. You give someone too much freedom, then it can cause chaos. there's been some behavior which I spotted, which I thought was a little bit, didn't look right, and when I qualified it, there was a real reason why that person was behaving like they were. So it was a really good thing that I didn't in that situation, really, I was basically held off a little bit, qualified it, understood the situation, and once I understood, it was very obvious why that person was acting like they were doing. So that's basically it, popping the small bubbles. So you've got different layers. You've got the ones you pop straight away, really, really important, you pop that straight away. And then you're gonna have all these different ones where it's all performance and culture related that you might not pull up straight away. You might not have that conversation straight away, but that does have to be popped. The bubble does need to be popped, because people in general, in some cases, will get away with what they can get away with. If you don't insist and you don't inspect, you haven't set the boundaries, and your accountability isn't as good as it should be. I like to think of things visually. So when I'm on the floor, on the sales floor, and this is something that you can use yourself, is just take 5 minutes out, take 10 minutes out, step back, look at the team, how they're acting. Is someone on Instagram 24/7? Is someone slouched in their chair? Is someone continuously talking to their colleague? Is someone on Facebook? Observe these things. And remember, I said before, great leaders are great observers. How well do you observe? Take some time out, take some notes. I promise you, when you start observing your team or your business, you'll spot some gaps. So basically, if you look at the situation we had before with the top salesperson, who was, let's say, a little bit emotional, the first time was the small bubble was when he was negative about a customer. If I pop that bubble there, it doesn't get any bigger. But I didn't do that, and it happened again. So now we've got a cluster of problems. And if you try and pop this bubble, it becomes more difficult. Unfortunately, I didn't do that either. And I left it at this stage where we've now got a cluster, and this is a behavioral pattern. This isn't very good. And it got to this stage, and this particular guy was aggressive with one of our customers, rude, disrespectful, and we came that close to losing a multi-million euro account. Why? Because I didn't pop the small bubble at the start. So if you have popped the small bubbles and someone's still behaving there, this is a problem. If you've popped the bubbles here and they still keep behaving there, this is a real problem. You've got a real problem if someone keeps doing the same thing. And at this stage, I would suggest you need to be questioning, is this person the right person for your business? Or do you have to think about exiting that person from the business? I think when you start managing a team or a business, you can use these very simple analogies, and it's going to help you to A, have high performance, but B, also have an amazing culture within your business. So I hope that makes a lot of sense, and I hope that's helpful. So guys, that's the end of this session. If you like what you see, please click the like button, please click subscribe, and we're going to be posting some more videos each week, which will be extensions of leadership. We're also going to have some sales guys from our business talk about how to sell in a German-speaking market. And believe me, I don't want to oversell this, but we've probably got some of the best salespeople in Germany within our business. My business partner in particular, some people compare him to Grant Cardone. In fact, they say he's a Grant Cardone of Germany. He's also going to be talking on some in some videos coming up. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you took something from this. Sorry about the diagram. I know that's probably the most basic diagram you've seen on YouTube so far, but I hope it's also very visual and something you could use. Thanks again for listening, guys, and we'll see you back on the Sales and Leadership channel very soon. Have an amazing day.